Welcome back, Starlights, to another video. Namaste. My name is Camilla. I am a human. I am a licensed professional counselor, and I'm a certified spiritual coach. So when I kind of decided what to make this video be about, I figured I would start off with a little precursor. Being a therapist, being a mental health professional, it comes with a lot of expectations, a lot of, I don't want to say rules, but there are certain ways that therapists are supposed to be or are portrayed to be, right? One of the things is being a blank slate. So being a blank slate therapist was made by, or that just terminology was created by Sigmund Freud, who is the father of talk therapy. Now, Sigmund Freud had his own set of issues, right? And, and working on decolonizing therapy and just moving away from the outdated perspectives of therapy. One of the things that when making my brand and starting this channel, I want to do, and I'm striving to do, is to bring my authentic self. And it's different. It's different than from what you see from most therapists. Obviously, like, I still have my boundaries, and I won't necessarily go into fine detail about things. But like per my last video, for example, I mentioned that I have PTSD. Didn't say what caused it or the trauma I've experienced was, but I did put it out there. And the reason why I want to do that is because, one, I don't want to hide my authentic self. The reason why I got into this field was because of the stuff that I went through. And I think that there's something to say about a mental health professional who not only went to school and learned things by the book, but who also had the lived experience. And two, I really want to strive to not make people feel alone, whether they're my client or not. And it kind of leads to the topic of this video today, which is loneliness. Like, in a nutshell, loneliness, walking the spiritual path, and like being a wallflower, right? So once again, this is something that's kind of come up in my life recently. And I know I'm not the only one who feels this way. And I decided to make a video to search for all the other wallflowers out there. Being a wallflower is hard, right? So if you look at the definition of a wallflower, it's someone who's kind of off to the side, like, if they're at a social gathering, they may be the person in the background. So two popular media references I can think of. My first one, and the one that I love, is Charlie from Perks of Being a Wallflower. So I've seen the movie and I've read the book and I cry. Whether it's the book or the movie, I cry. So Perks of Being a Wallflower is about Charlie, who he has his own trauma history, right? And he's a wallflower. He's in the background. No one really notices him. And he is navigating his own mental health. And he does end up making friends who do notice him and do see him for who he is. And they value his introspectiveness and his ability to observe. And so that one got me really emotional as someone who strives for that, right? And the second one is Penelope Featherington from the Bridgerton series. Spoiler alert if you haven't seen it, right? So, she ends up being Lady Whistledown, who is the notorious gossip writer of the city. And no one suspected it was her because she wasn't really noticed. So I resonate with characters like that a lot because I feel similarly a lot of the time. I, for a while, have felt like I'm the person that observes other people and takes note of other people, but it may not necessarily feel reciprocated. And being a mental health professional and doing what I do, I'm a listener. That's what I do. Like, I don't want to say I get paid to listen. It's more than that. But listening, empathetic listening, is a large chunk of the work that I do. And sometimes even in my personal life, I find that hard to be reciprocated. So it can create this feeling of loneliness. And building connections as well with other people has been tricky. It's been difficult. I think COVID kind of exacerbated a lot of what we see today. So for people who don't know, we are in a loneliness epidemic. Like, loneliness is an actual thing that the CDC, the Center of Disease Control in America, acknowledges. Loneliness is on the rise. People are feeling more disconnected. It's harder to build connections. I think once again, COVID kind of exacerbated things with the lockdown. Not that it wasn't necessary, but it became harder to connect. And so then when the lockdowns went away and people started going out into society again, it's almost like we don't know how to talk to each other. And for me, as someone who is a wallflower, who is trying to build these connections, it's tough. And I mean, there are things out there. There's Meetup, there is Bumble BFF, Facebook groups, all types of things. But it almost seems like, it feels like people are kind of comfortable where they're at almost. And it gets tricky, like, on how to push past that barrier. And if you're a wallflower watching this and you're like me, you probably freaking hate small talk. I cannot stand small talk. I cannot stand how was the weather. I cannot stand what's your favorite color. I cannot stand the what do you do for work. And I get it. I get that's something that we have to do initially to get to know someone. We can't just necessarily jump headfirst into the deep stuff. I mean, maybe if you read the right people. But yeah, I do want to have the deeper conversations. I do want to, like, have the deep getting to know you type of situations. So, and it just, a lot of unreplied texts or texts that aren't replied to until weeks later. A lot of, once again, maybe one-sidedness. And not feeling seen is hard. It's hard to not feel seen by people. To feel like you're like the convenient friend, or once again in the background. And then, we get older and people settle down in long-term relationships and get engaged or married, and there's this encompassing fear and growing fear of being left behind. And, I've reached out, I'm reconnecting with people who haven't talked to in a while, and it feels good, but that fear is still there. There's a part that's still afraid of being left behind. And I've spent holidays alone, and I've gone on trips alone because I didn't have anyone else to go with me. And there's a part of me that takes that and turns it into hyper independence, right? Like, good for me, I don't need anyone to do these things. I'm not the type of person who's going to sit around and wait for someone to show up. If I did that, I probably wouldn't live, right? Once again, going to Bali, for example, in April by myself, while it was a retreat and I got to meet other fantastic people, it was still in the back of my head a little bit. And if you're a wallflower and if you're someone who is kind of more in that lonely path, you probably understand. Even if you are going out and you're doing things, you're not waiting for people to live your life. it's still hard, but for me, it's been reflecting on my path. So being on my spiritual path and being on my spiritual journey, they say that it's a bit of a more lonely path because you see things in ways people don't see it. You're thinking about things maybe that other people aren't thinking about. And this isn't to say that I'm better or other people on a spiritual path are better than anyone else. That's not it. It's just that we have a different way of thinking that feels, it makes it harder to connect with others. And it could be hard at times. It could be hard at times to kind of be on this path. There are times where I'm like, I wish I wasn't on the spiritual path, right? And I mean, that's a very small part. I'm very grateful to be on this path, to be healing, to be discovering things about myself and getting connected and closer to God and the universe. But it's really hard sometimes. It's really, really hard sometimes. So the hard thing is that I haven't found a absolute answer, right? We're all connected, so we're never truly alone. Something I learned at the retreat this past year in April was that we're always, once again, connected to somebody or something. When we eat food, we realize that someone put the food on the shelf in the grocery store, and someone picked the fruit from the earth. Someone planted the seed to grow the food. So there's a forever chain of connectedness. The camera I'm speaking into right now, someone built this camera. Someone created the technology to make this camera. So we're always connected. But just because we feel connected doesn't mean we still can't feel lonely sometimes. And I think that's natural. I think a lot of it is also just pouring into myself and the relationship with me. And, you know, that's been a relationship that I've needed to cultivate for a very long time. And I'm grateful that I have the space to do so. The thing about people in relationships, though they're fantastic, and we're social creatures, so obviously it's something that we need, is that when we have relationships in our life, they can influence us, right? Whether it's romantic or platonic or family relationships, when we're around other people, we have a tendency to change ourselves even a little bit, right? Maybe we hide things from our family. Maybe we, do something that our significant other wants to do, but maybe we necessarily didn't want to do. Maybe we try and present a certain way to society. When we're around people, there's always some influence. Now, there are people who just beat to their own drum 100% of the time. And, maybe they're wallflowers, maybe not. And I love that. And that's something that I strive to be someday. But there's always going to be a little bit of influence, I think. Even right now, as I talk to you guys, right, through this camera, right, through your screen, as you're watching, it's almost like I feel like I have to present myself a certain way. And that is a difficult thing to drop. It's a difficult thing to not feel. But if you're a wallflower, if you're someone who doesn't feel seen, this is why I want to build a community. This is why I am trying to get serious about YouTube after a couple attempts of trying to do it. I want to find the outcasts and the wallflowers and the people who feel overlooked, I want to find those people and just be like, I see you. I see you, and I see how hard it can feel, how lonely it can feel. And even as I talk about it, I have emotions coming up, because that's all I want to do, is to help other people not feel alone. So if you do feel similarly to me, there is a greater purpose for you. Like, you're not just here to be on the sidelines and watch life pass by. I promise you, you have a greater purpose. And please, like, feel free to follow my socials, to comment on this video. Like, that's my goal. That is my goal, is to build a community of people who need it, and like genuinely need it, and who will support each other and lean on each other. I'm not talking about, like, you know, people who just say hi every now and again. I want to build a community where you can foster long-lasting friendships and love, because I think that's important, especially in nowadays day and age. But again, I feel like it's hard to connect with people, but I'm trying to take it as is, right? Like, every person I meet, I take it as a connection, and I honor that, and I surrender. I am no longer fixated on the outcome of, is this person going to be my friend? Are we gonna talk consistently? But I'm trying to honor the connection in the moment, and remember the connection I have to God and to the earth, and know that I'm truly never alone. I'm truly never disconnected. But yeah, I'm gonna feel lonely sometimes. You're gonna feel lonely sometimes, and that's normal. And we are spiritual beings having a human experience. And that's gonna come with emotions. And I think that's okay. So you're here for a greater purpose. You're not just here to be alone. I promise you. I promise you. You are never truly disconnected from God and from the earth and from the universe. So all that to say is that I'm just honoring the path that I'm on. I'm seeing it as a growth opportunity. I'm thanking God for the space to continue to pour into me, so that when I do cultivate these relationships, I'll be ready, and I'll be in a spot to be able to take them all. And that's the same. That's the same for anyone who feels similarly. Once again, and you know, rather if you don't believe in God or not, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You're still meant for greater and bigger things. So, like, that's it. That's kind of what I wanted to say, what's been on my heart. So, once again, feel free to leave a comment on this video if you feel similarly. If you feel maybe a bit of an outcast, if you're wondering, like, are you gonna build connections? Are you just weird? Like, if you dance to the beat of your own drum, leave a comment. Let's build this community. And if nothing else, Starlight, thank you for watching this video. And may you be happy, may you be healthy, and may you be free. Namaste.